Coming up on the Greg and Tim Show podcast.
Baseball team from Florida called the Frogs. I need to get that hat immediately.
If you had lost any kind of hope, remember, you could also be the sexiest man alive. Does his 2 missed field goals during the West Final worry you?
No, he got them out of the way. I'm a big music guy, and I love Christmas music.
Today's main event is introvert versus extrovert versus ambivert. It's a 3-way.
It's a 3-way. It might surprise you, Greg, but
get your earballs ready and welcome back to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Greg and Tim Show. I'm Greg as always, and with me here is my fantastic co-host, the social butterfly, the singer of Christmas music, and the bringer of incorrect sports information, Timothy.
Hey, wait a minute. Not all those mistakes that I made were sports related, but that is right, Greg. We're back with episode number 11. We've got past 10. We've got a festive lineup for you today. But before we jump in, have you ever wondered when the right time to start playing Christmas music is?
I've never wondered, but I think that's the age-old debate. We'll be tackling that today, along with a deep dive into the world of sports. Tim, what's on the docket?
Well, Greg, brace yourself because we're talking about the Jets. Not the ones in the sky, though that would be cool. We're talking about hockey, folks. And if that's not enough, we'll be shedding some light on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Winnipeg?
Their triumphant journey back to the Grey Cup 4 years in a row. And we should be winning our 4th in a row. But that's something else. I digress.
Yeah. Sports fan or not, you won't want to miss that. Plus, now prepare yourselves for a psychological roller coaster, folks. Everybody, be prepared. Today's main event is introvert versus extrovert versus ambivert. It's a 3-way.
It's a 3-way. It might surprise you, Greg, but before I spill the beans, let's dive into the nuances of personality types. And are you team introvert, extrovert, or riding the ambivert wave?
Spill the beans. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
I can't wait to hear your take on this, Tim. And to our listeners, stick around because we've got some great insights and maybe a few laughs lined up for you. A few more than we've already had. This is the Greg and Tim Show, episode 11. Let's get started.
Grab your favorite beverage, some earmuffs, folks. Do people wear earmuffs?
People? Adam does to football games.
Okay. The sound of Christmas music debate is coming, and it's louder than a Winnipeg Blue Bomber touchdown celebration. The cannon goes off.
Kaboom!
It's a touchdown.
Let's roll.
Or a field goal. Let's roll.
Cheers.
Cheers. Grab your phone. It's podcast time. It's the Greg and Tim Show. It's the Greg and Tim Show. Way better tea.
So? No, the last one was good too.
Yeah, the last one. I'm saying I'm still tasting the one from 2 weeks ago. It was so bad.
You and your tea.
I still taste it. Back of my throat.
It's in the back of your throat. Is it that bad?
It was so bad. I don't know what it was, but
it was tea.
Yeah,
it was
I know.
Cookie dough tea.
It was terrible.
Was it really?
Terrible.
It comes from the now defunct
now
David's
defunct.
tea.
Oh, they're no more?
Well, they're not. They don't have stores anymore.
Oh, okay.
So they're now defunct, I guess. You can buy it online, I think.
Right.
You want me to get you some for Christmas?
No.
Cookie dough tea.
Please don't.
It's not good for you?
It doesn't taste very good, no.
So, Tim, you've been messaging me a lot for the past week. Some things I remember,
most things you don't.
You tell me, hey, remember when I said this? And I'm like,
no, it won't even be that. You'll just say something. Hey, do you hear about this? I'm like, I said that a week ago. And you'll say something again. It's like, I said that 2 days ago. Never listen to anything I say.
I listen.
You don't remember.
That's right.
You don't listen with your heart.
Listen.
You
My
don't
heart.
listen with your heart.
It doesn't hit me right here.
Which hat are you wearing today?
This is Florida baseball team. Minor league baseball team.
Oh.
I think it's the Frogs or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
You have weird, strange hats. Like, who would think, hey, you know what I really like is a minor league baseball team from Florida called the Frogs. I need to get that hat immediately.
This hat was the last thing I purchased in Florida in February of 2020. That was the last time I was in Florida. I bought it at the airport, at Orlando Airport. I think there was a Lids there.
Right.
I'm just addicted.
Of course, you're buying a frog's hat from Florida at the airport. Of course, you're addicted.
It's different, though. That's why I got it.
Okay.
It was different. It was unique. So that's why I got it. I came across a quote this week that I thought was very interesting. And I think people that listen to our show, as long as they're liking and subscribing and sharing and all that kind of stuff, will benefit from this that I heard this week. Did you know that 15 minutes of laughter can prevent you from getting sick? 15 daily minutes of laughter can prevent you from getting sick.
Well, laughter is the best medicine, right?
I guess. I didn't know it had to be 15 minutes.
Oh, I've heard, I'm sure it's 15 minutes is an arbitrary number they came up with. But
so during this 48, 52, 56 minute podcast,
if we make you laugh for approximately a third of it, if my math is correct,
we're keeping you healthy.
We're keeping you healthy. Yeah, that's right.
So you don't need to do those push-ups. Just laugh all day.
Or you could do both.
Or you
One
could
doesn't cancel the other one. It's like, oh, I laughed today. I guess I'm not doing any physical exercise of any kind.
True.
No need for cardio. I laughed.
Speaking of physical exercise, we're going to transition this one right into up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
We are putting up a contestant, a finalist, how would you say, nomination for Sexiest Man of the Year. This picture is going viral right now.
Yeah.
It is of Jason Kelce. And Travis Kelce. And Jason Kelce's mom, I think, shared it or something.
Yeah.
Is of them in high school. Have you seen the photo?
Yeah, and then there's a meme that's going around that's saying this person is dating Taylor Swift now, and the other one's
going to be the
sexiest man. It's like,
man
there's
alive.
still hope for you.
If you had lost any kind of hope, remember, you could also be the sexiest man alive.
Do I get any votes next year
for sexiest man alive?
I've been doing push-ups. Do I have to get famous first?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
wait a minute. A year from now?
Your brother also has to be dating Taylor Swift.
Well, that's difficult.
Because you don't have a brother.
Don't have a brother.
That's something we didn't know about you.
Yeah, but whenever I say things about my past, you always say it's terrible. I said didn't I say that one time? That was one of the things.
Well, one of the things that's something we didn't know
I'm an only child,
was
right?
that you're an only child.
Yeah, and
I
you're
didn't
like,
think it was terrible.
He was like, that's the worst. Something about Tim, and then you're like, we're never doing that again. You better come up with something more interesting. That was horrible. I was like, thanks so much. I just bared my soul and heart to you, Greg, and this is what I get. Tears and not of joy. Crushing.
Well, thank you to everybody who listens. To Tim, because we know it's hard. Because I do it once a week.
You only listen to me once a week.
Well, I pay attention once a week.
Oh, yeah.
I listen all week.
And some would argue maybe not that once a week either.
Speaking of Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce, once again, some funny stuff going on with them. Did you see Taylor Swift's concert? Where Taylor Swift's changed the words to her song?
Yeah. And Travis Kelce's off to the side at the end.
Yeah.
So she changes the words of to make it like I'm
Karma
coming back.
Is a
Karma
player on the Chiefs.
Coming back to me.
Karma takes all my friends to the summit. Karma is the guy on the Chiefs.
And I was like, yeah. And then he's waiting, and the second she finishes her last time, she
jumps into his arms. They make it like it's a romantic movie. It's like a Hallmark movie happening in real life.
Seems a bit too contrived, that part. I don't know. But that's just me.
Somebody also said if every player's bye week could be like Travis Kelce's, everybody would be living in a utopia.
Yeah.
He's having fun.
Have you seen some of the conspiracy theories surrounding what people think of this whole, and you had one too about the romance between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Some of these things are saying that it's all made up stuff.
Yeah.
The league is somehow the NFL and Taylor Swift need a little bit of a boost.
So the funny thing about that, the funny thing you say about the league and the NFL is it feels like every year they I think somebody does a skit every year where the NFL sits down in a living room and they're like, okay, let's figure out how this season's gonna go. Okay, this guy's gonna break his leg in week 4. This guy's gonna come back Aaron Rodgers is gonna come back January 6th and he's going to play into the playoffs, and like all these things that you would never think would happen are all of a sudden happening, and it's like, is the NFL scripted? Is it the WWE?
Or with 30-some teams in the NFL, do things just happen on per chance? And we just remember. It's like the old adage, do you ever look at a phone and think it's going to ring and it rings? And then do you ever look at a phone and you think it's going to ring, it's not going to ring, and it doesn't ring? It's like, you only remember the times it rings. So in your brain, you make up these things that, it can't be happenstance. This has to be.
It's always about our brains lately, eh? We're doing the Mandela effect, the brain.
And it goes back to what I said last week, and I still believe it. By the way, the whole Mandela effect conversation, I still think it's phooey. However, after listening to it for a full week and kind of digesting it, it's extremely interesting.
Yeah. Now you see why.
Fascinating stuff. Again, I'm not saying I think it's all kafooey, but the whole theory is intriguing. And it's good conversation, and I thank you for you brought up a really good subject.
And you can see why saying it at a party could get into a rabbit hole, and you could be there all night just talking about the Mandela effect.
Yeah. So if anything, it's fodder for.
And we've got a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Some good, some bad,
some inappropriate, some I need explained to me.
Always a little bit of inappropriate comments. That's going to happen when it's on the internet.
What?
The other thing with the Travis Kelce stuff, whether or not it's made up, whether or not it is something that is contrived to bring ratings to the NFL, to Taylor Swift, whatever, it always seems like these celebrities have something going on that draws the attention to them. The one big thing I think that you were alluding to a few minutes ago, and I'll bring it up because I don't know if you're afraid to bring it up or not, is the Pfizer thing.
Okay, so I didn't know if you wanted to go there, but I have no problem. You want to open it up?
We'll open up the can for a second here and just talk about it.
Yeah, sure. We don't have to give our opinions this way or that way. But the idea is that Travis Kelce, who actually I didn't know this before, is one of the
he's a Pfizer
advertising heads or faces for Pfizer, right? Yeah. So one of these guys that says, I got vaccinated and so should you.
Yeah.
And this whole idea that,
and you can argue that previous to Taylor Swift, he was another football player, obviously a popular one, but not popular amongst anybody other than football fans.
Sure. Okay. He has more widespread appeal now, that not just for NFL fans, which, I mean, that's still pretty big. Like, most people know who he is, even if you don't follow week to week. But yeah, so they're creating this is the conspiracy theory. They're creating this whole thing so that they would think it's kind of cool. And if it's cool, well, let's listen to whatever he says if he's cool, and we should, that's going to make us. By the way, the end result is it has not boosted numbers at all. And it's if that's the attempt, it's not effective.
The other thing that is going on that feeds the conspiracy theory is there's a ton of new ads for your booster shots. Our PM is, posting on Instagram that he's getting his. And, during the Bomber game, there was an advertisement on the big screen for the booster shots. So to argue the conspiracy theory side of it, it is big news right now, and it doesn't hurt them to have somebody who is dating one of the biggest stars in the world.
Of course. Do they take advantage of the situation? Probably. Do they create the situation? It seems a bit far-fetched, right?
Yeah.
Do you take two people who, and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get together, and you're going to make the world believe you're dating, even though you're not. That's the issue, right?
I think the real conspiracy is this is just a way to make Jason Kelce world's sexiest man.
Right. Well, he was already. Like, look at him.
You like him?
He's so hot.
What about the younger version?
Equally hot.
Last thing on the Jason Kelce Taylor Swift thing. Promise, if you don't like Jason Kelce or Taylor Swift, it's the last part of it.
Actually, I have somebody to add after that. I have a question.
Okay, perfect.
It's not the last thing. Stick around.
Second last thing. I'll make this quick. Another video came out today of some guy going, Taylor Swift is dating Jason Kelce. And he's like, how long does Taylor Swift generally date people? And the other guy goes, about 6 weeks. He's like, 6 weeks. Let's see. Miami Dolphins. Is that good or bad?
The Dolphins have a bad defense. I'm sure he'll shred them anyway.
So check Taylor Swift and Jason Kelce break up during the Miami Dolphins week, and Jason Kelce has a bad week.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs might still win.
No.
And get your bets in now.
Yeah.
For the Las Vegas bookies.
A question for you.
Yeah.
We're talking about conspiracy theorists. I have a lot of friends who it's like they've never met a conspiracy they don't like.
Yeah.
Like you give them a conspiracy, yep, that happened.
That happened.
A, B, C, doesn't matter what the conspiracy, they believe everyone.
Instantly.
I tend to be someone who thinks like 99% of all conspiracy theories are garbage.
Yeah.
That's why they call them conspiracy theories. But I feel certain personalities are drawn to gravitating to conspiracy theories, whatever they are. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. The
Mandela effect,
the NASA never landed on the moon. All these things,
the moon
right?
landing. Yep.
And
let's knock them all out.
And they like
YouTube
all of them.
Gets them all.
And then other people like me, and think it's all most of it's bunk.
Yeah.
Where do you fall?
I like reading about them. I not that I like subscribe to conspiracies or say I might like and share some of them just for fun, just to get people to think. I'm kind of what did my grandma used to call my dad? I can't say it because it's a bad word. Disturber.
A manure disturber?
A manure disturber. Yeah. So I like to, throw in some grenades and then run away, just to see how much destruction I can create.
And knowing you for a couple of years, I can subscribe, like, and share that.
That's fantastic.
So how was your week?
It was good.
Yeah.
I did the things. I hung out. What did I do this week? I could never remember what I did during the week. Oh, Saturday I went to the Bomber game. The Bombers won. Sunday, my son is playing hockey this year. This is his first year playing hockey. He had, I think it was like 13 or 14 fans in the stands.
I saw pictures
for
of
him.
That. I saw that and I was like, wow, he has a support system.
He had a great support staff.
That's awesome.
They lost, but big time.
They got destroyed. But you took him out for ice cream.
But you know what? He had fun, and at the end, he's like, "Dad, I had fun." I'm like, "That's it. That's all I want you to do. I want you to go out there. I want you to have fun." He got pictures with everybody. He signed some autographs, and
some autographs. For who?
His family.
Okay.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to come out and watch. Well, if I don't know you, you can't come. But if I know you,
the schedule of his son's sporting events will be listed here.
They will not be.
Dates starting on the 16th.
So that's what
November.
I did. So, Tim, I know that you always have a more exciting week than I do. Feel free to let me know what your week was all
about. We went to Minneapolis this weekend. Again, because that's what we do. Actually, it's the last weekend we're going to be. We have no plans to go back. It just happened to be that over the last 16 weeks, there was things lined up that we were there 6-7 times.
Yeah.
So am I boring you? You seem to be looking at the distance there. Friday night.
I feel like it's deja vu.
Yeah.
That's another conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
deja vu.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that next week.
Friday night we went to go see Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks.
Uptown Girl.
Stevie Nicks started the concert, and we're not such. It was okay. She did a good job, but we're not really Stevie Nicks.
You're more the Billy Joel.
He did
man.
2 hours, just over 2 hours. Did all the songs we wanted to hear. A couple that he added that were kind of cool. Awesome. So we can scratch that off our bucket list right now, Billy Joel. And Avery and I loved it. One of the best concerts we've been to. And that was at US Bank where the Vikings play. And then I went back Sunday. I watched the Vikings beat the New Orleans Saints.
Nice.
Good game. Very good game.
Dobbs pulled it through again.
Second half wasn't as good as the first half, but we pulled it off. So it was a good weekend.
So you said the word bucket list.
The bucket list.
How long do you think the phrase bucket list has been around?
Since there have been buckets?
No, honestly, like, how long do you think the phrase bucket list has been around?
I don't know. We have no ability to look it up.
I know how long it's been.
You have the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me.
No, I want you to guess.
60 years.
60 years.
Yeah.
It has been around for less than 20 years.
Really?
It's only been around
Really?
since the movie was made.
No.
The movie coined the phrase,
No.
the bucket list.
No, I don't believe
100%.
that. I do not believe
I watched a video all about it, and it was all about how long the phrase, the bucket list, has been around,
Right.
and it's only been around since that movie. The movie coined the phrase.
I have to
Nobody
look
had
it
said
up
it
for
before
myself.
that.
I don't believe you.
We'll
I
look
don't
it up
believe
during
you.
the break.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Good week, though.
So my week was good.
Minneapolis again for you.
And I wasn't in town for the Bomber game, but I'm so happy they won. We'll talk about more about the Bombers in a second.
Yeah,
but yeah.
for sure. So we gained a ton of subscribers this week, Tim. I think we gained around 20 subscribers.
22.
22 subscribers, according to Timothy.
In 1 week,
don't look back because
which
we
is
don't
pretty
know
good.
how many we had before.
Just
But
say it with confidence. It's right.
It was a very good week for people subscribing.
Yeah.
So if you haven't subscribed yet, just click the little ping, ping, ping down there. That's like, subscribe, share, and subscribe. But with the new subscribers, I think we're getting a lot of people from the United States that might appreciate our previous conversation about Kelce, about Swifty, about other things about the NFL. So we're going to probably try to incorporate a little bit more of that into that video. So,
we're catering to the Americans, eh?
not catering.
Because we're not giving them food.
We're diversifying our portfolio.
We're diversifying.
Our portfolio.
They're like, who are the Bombers?
And if you're an American
And
watching
why
the
are
show,
they blue?
if you're an American watching the show, the Blue Bombers are the greatest CFL team in the league for the last 4 or 5 years. Well, in our opinion.
Well, no,
And-
that's not an opinion. That's absolutely fact. No one's going to argue that.
And
No one from Saskatchewan's like, oh, we've been better the last 4 years.
if you do want to watch the Bombers, they're generally on ESPN in the States, and I believe the Grey Cup is on ESPN this year. It might be like one of the the lower ESPNs, like the Ocho or whatever they call them
Right.
down there.
Number 5.
But I believe if you look up the Grey Cup, Winnipeg Blue Bombers versus Montreal Alouettes, they are on ESPN. So
Correct.
that brings us into our next topic of the week here, Timothy. What do you want to jump on first? The Bombers, the Jets?
Let's talk Jets, then Bombers. I think there's not as much to talk about with the Jets.
Okay.
And Bombers are coming to a big week. So let's talk Jets. 8-5-1 record right now.
8-5-1. This time last year, 8-5-2.
Yeah.
This time last year, they're 10-4-1.
And last year, if I'm not mistaken, was the best start to a season in 2.0 history.
It could have been.
It was. And this year, not so bad.
So 8-5-2, 10-4-1. Last year, the wheels fell off. This year,
And the wheels fell off quite a bit. Like there was still another couple months before. I think it's past Christmas where things were starting to fall
Yeah.
apart. But we had a good start last year. We lost Dubois, Wheeler, a couple other small pieces, and we added Iafallo.
Kapari, Velarde, Nemestikov signed.
Yeah.
He'll be here for the whole year, where we only had him for the last 2 months last year.
So you could argue, and we obviously kept Scheifele and Hellebuck. You could argue the team is no worse than last year.
I think it's actually better.
And for certainly deeper. I'll
Yeah.
say that. And I think now Dubois and Wheeler, they haven't done anything. I think
they're not.
Dubois, most of his production was the game against us.
Yeah.
And Wheeler is invisible in third or fourth
Well,
line.
he's
Right?
39 years old.
Is he 39?
38, I think. 38 or 39.
38.
He should have retired as a Jet. Like, I don't know. What's the point to prove right now? You signed for the league minimum. Why didn't he retire as a Jet?
Maybe he needed money.
He was making $8 million a year for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe he needed
Or maybe
money.
he loved hockey still.
Maybe he loves
Maybe he
hockey.
didn't. Maybe his kids were of the age he didn't want to look after them for 6 months of the year.
Yeah. That might be it. Too.
Maybe. Or maybe he just wanted to live in New York for a year. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I guess. I would have chosen somewhere else.
Yeah?
I would have chose Florida. I would have chose Tampa. I would have chose Dallas.
But he gets to go to all
I would
those
have
places.
chose LA,
Gets to go to all those places too.
Carolina.
Ooh, Carolina.
Yeah,
I've been to a game there.
I
like
have not.
in Raleigh.
Yeah.
We went there a couple
They
years
play
ago.
the hurricane warning before
Yeah.
the game, right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I can't do the sound. I don't know if that's right.
I love we will.
I'll just dub it over with the real sound. Oh, now I can't. Yeah, we've ruined it.
They have a lot of fun there.
They do.
I went to a game there, and
They're just a bunch of jerks.
went to a game there, and I like Carolina.
Yeah.
I've been there to the state once, and we stayed there for a couple.
How many
weeks.
Jets games have you been to this year?
I have been to none.
Yeah. Why is that?
Honestly,
Don't say it. We'll move on. Okay. So now let's talk about the Bombers a little bit here.
Yeah.
The Bombers are going to the Grey Cup for the 4th time in 4 Grey Cup years. They've won 2 out of 3. And this year they're going against the less favorable Montreal Alouettes.
so let's back up. The East Final, the Alouettes completely surprised the Argonauts, who were heavily favored in Toronto. A lot of turnovers. But why do you? So Andrew Harris retired the day or two after the game. Okay. And Andrew Harris, who played a number of years in Winnipeg, right?
He posted his shoes.
I never understood why he didn't retire after the Grey Cup last year.
Yeah.
Like,
he won 3 Grey Cups in 3 years.
You won a Grey Cup with the team. You left.
Yeah.
Then you left because the team didn't want for whatever reason, something went sour. You won in the place you won, beating the old team.
Yeah.
In the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
You would think that's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And he wants to play another year, and a year he never really played.
Yeah, he didn't really make it. He had a tough year this year.
So that's
too bad.
That's a side note.
Yeah.
Getting off the Argonauts and Alouettes. Bombers 4 years in a row. You could argue if we had a kicker last year, we would be going for win number 4 in a row.
So I got a question for you.
Yes.
Does his 2 missed field goals during the West Final worry you?
No, he got them out of the way. It's like in warm-up in basketball. You know, if you miss everything in warm-up, you're going to dominate during the game.
So
he
playing
got them out
against
of the
the
way.
BC Lions, the best team in the league other than the Bombers,
Yeah.
he got his warm-ups out of the way.
Absolutely. There's no transition from one week to the other.
So missed field goals.
He's a good kicker.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to think. And not only that, in theory, and anything can happen in a game.
Yeah.
But in theory, we shouldn't need him to kick a last-minute field goal. But anyways, I
So
digress.
missed field goals,
Yeah.
you're not worried about?
No.
Missed big hills.
That defense sure dominated without him, even in the line. 10 sacks, and a lot of them after he left the game. Now, we're assuming he's not going to make the game, but he left the game in crutches. I'm sure he's not going to play.
He doesn't have the walking boot on anymore.
Right.
He was walking around gingerly today, but no walking boot anymore.
Yeah.
We also don't know about Schoen right now, but Schoen is questionable. Big Hill is, I would say, probably doubtful. You say they got all that stuff afterwards. The one thing we didn't know during the game was that Vernon Adams got hurt sometime during the first half.
Right.
And played most of the second half of the game with something wrong with his leg, I believe.
Right.
So
he was just as good in the first half, just as bad, I should say, in the first half.
Yeah. But who knows? He could have got hurt on that first trick play.
Yeah.
Where
and by the way, they really only
and
scored 6 points in that game because that stupid play at the first half should never
the Hail
happen.
Mary.
You got to knock that ball down.
Yeah, you do not go for the catch.
No.
You knock it down.
That was a mistake by the defense.
Yeah.
So, question for you. Okay, question for you.
Yeah.
We're playing a game in which we're heavily favored.
Yep.
Montreal is, sometimes I feel that when a team wins a game they're unexpectedly supposed to win, they treat it as their Grey Cup prematurely and they don't show up the next week.
Yep.
But that's neither here nor there. The question for you is this.
Yeah.
When a team loses and they're heavily favored,
the
media will say things like, they took them for granted. They looked past them. They didn't take them seriously, and that's why they lost. I hear this all the time. Is that something that the media will try to drum up because they want to make a story? Or does that actually happen? Like, do people like, we're playing the Alouettes this week, so we're just gonna eat candy and not practice and practice?
There's no way under Mike O'Shea that any of that's happening.
But we say that all the time when a team loses.
But the Bombers,
to an underdog, of course.
Yeah, and the Bombers have lost to underdogs this year. Yeah. They lost to Ottawa.
Yeah.
Who was their other? They lost to BC, Ottawa, and 2 other teams. Blanking Montreal, I think they lost to.
Yeah.
Right?
No, they didn't. I don't think They lost to Montreal.
I'd have to double check. We don't have Billy today. So.
I should say something we know it's wrong already.
Yeah, but
I'll make a guess.
Either way, the Bombers
Just go
lost
the
4
opposite.
games, and I think 2 of them were to underdogs.
Right. It happens.
It's any given Sunday. It's football, right?
But this idea that we explained it by saying they just took them for granted.
I don't think the Bombers take anybody for granted.
Well, do any sporting teams take a team for? Do they sit there and say, "Well, they're not as good, so we're not going to try as hard"?
With bad leadership, I think it could happen. Going into places like Vegas.
Yes, but the bad leadership you would assume that bad leadership would take the serious teams serious. So they obviously do have the ability to. They just choose to not try as hard or prepare as much against an underdog.
You can argue that with the Jets over the years, that they play the harder teams better.
Right, but is that because they don't prepare, because they think that this mentality
might be just a mental thing?
Or do they play down to their level because they just...
It could be a mental aspect. I don't think the Bombers go into a game like this. Like, no. I don't think they lost to Toronto because they mistook what Toronto brought to the table.
Yeah.
I think they lost to Toronto because A, they had a bad kicker.
Yeah.
And B, Toronto played a really good game.
Yeah, and Toronto lost to an underdog last week. It happens.
So the one thing going into this week is that the Bombers are playing against Montreal. And it's in the East, so you're not going to really have a favorable crowd one way or the other. I don't think, because of traveling. Unlike last year, where I was at the game, a lot of the Saskatchewan fans were cheering for Toronto.
Right.
So it was much louder.
Yeah.
For Toronto than it was for Winnipeg.
Are you going to go to the Grey Cup?
I am not.
Why not?
Because I can't afford it. It's expensive nowadays. And you know what? Yeah, you could have bought tickets a long time ago and went, but I would prefer to sit in front of my TV this time. And I've seen 2 of the last 3 in person.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be at 50%. Next year's in BC. I may plan to go to BC.
Right.
If I can plan it ahead of time with flights and accommodation, then I don't worry about who's in the game because it's an indoor game.
Right.
Right. And then it's in Winnipeg the next year.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. The last time the Bombers played a team that was this much they favored was Calgary in the Grey Cup. 2001.
I watched that game. I broke a handle off the door of my apartment. And very loud. I was so mad.
That was supposed to be the year that they broke I think it was an 11-year drought at that time.
Yeah.
It became a 29-year drought.
Stiegel, Kahari.
No. Yeah, it was Stiegel and Kahari. And then 2007.
Now, Mark, you remember the quarterback for the Stamps when they beat us in 2001?
I do not.
Marcus Crandall.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
27-19. I still have nightmares about that.
Should have won that game. 2007, you can argue that the Bombers should have won that game against Saskatchewan, but Kevin Glenn broke his arm. The Bombers were actually on the crossover team that year.
Who was the quarterback for the Bombers for the Grey Cup in that
year? Current head coach of the Toronto Argonauts, Ryan Dinwiddie. Mr. Blue Eyes himself. Yep. It's not Sinatra.
So dreamy.
So
I made 2 references to dudes in this.
You love your guys.
Oh, okay. Moving on.
Moving on.
We'll return after these messages.
Are you tired of boring phone cases that can't handle a little adventure? Do you want to protect your screen from scratches, cracks, and arrows?
Arrows.
Do you need a reliable way to charge your phone on the go?
Well, I guess if you answered yes to any of these 3 questions, then you need the Blue Element. Blue Element Cases is the ultimate brand for your cell phone accessories that are tough, stylish, and fun. Whether you need a case that can survive a drone drop, as you saw before, a screen protector that can deflect an arrow, which they also can do, or a wireless charger that can power up your phone in minutes. Blue Element has it all.
And you can trust Blue Element to keep your phone safe and ready for anything. Plus, they come in a variety of colors and designs to suit your personality. So don't settle for less. Get Blue Element today and unleash your inner adventurer.
Blue Element. The phone accessories that make you crack a smile. And not your screen.
You can get 15% off with the link in the description or go to blueelement.com and use the code Greg and Tim.
Greg and Tim.
Greg and Tim. 50% off. 50% off.
15.
15, yeah.
You're saying it. Saying it very fast. You were saying
15.
it sounded like 50. You're saying it very fast.
15.
15. Greg and Tim, blueelement.com. BLUELEMENT.com.
.com.
Now back to the show.
Hey, and we're back. Tim, during the break there, I looked up the bucket list video that I had referred to during the first half.
And I did not believe you.
You did not believe me.
And apparently it's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
So 60 years ago, we were watching the video and it said, "Did you believe it happened in 1930?" And Tim goes, "Yeah, that's what I said."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, you said 60 years ago." 60 years ago, Tim, was 1960. Like, what year do you think it is right now?
I was told there'd be no math in this episode.
And
that was our agreement in our contract.
So if you want to watch that video, it's called Bucket List Mandela Effect, which is kind of funny because we talked about the Mandela Effect last week.
Yeah.
A lot of people misremember when the bucket list saying came out, and it actually came out in 2007.
Yeah.
And that's when the guy that thought it up in apparently 1999.
Yeah.
And originally he thought of it as being like,
he was a screenwriter and he brought it to
this is my list before I kicked the bucket, and then he shortened it to bucket list. Yeah. So very interesting.
I have an explanation, obviously, though. It was in the 1930s, 1934, but that was in a different multiverse. And so I just mixed up the multiverses. That's it. So, and I didn't want to, I couldn't explain it now, but if you went to my alternate multiverse, which I've been to, it would be explained.
Yeah. Okay. Biff Tannen.
I'm going to say that joke till the day I die.
Oh, man.
Oh, remember the multiverse, Greg?
So you want to talk about Christmas music. And by the way, next week, this place will be Christmassy.
Is it?
It will be Christmassy. So
it's almost the end of November.
Yeah. Well, I decorate the house the weekend after November 11th.
Right.
So November 11th is a Saturday this year, so we will decorate on the 18th, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Christmas music. Have you started listening yet?
Yes.
You have?
Oh yeah.
Really?
For sure. I'm a big music guy, and I love Christmas music.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about now when. Do you love Christmas music, by the way?
So I love certain Christmas music.
Yeah.
I've really gotten into Christmas music lately, because some of the artists that I follow have been producing some really good Christmas music that's not so cheesy.
Can you imagine these guys, these bands and stuff, putting out Christmas music and they record for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours in July?
Yeah?
Yeah. Literally hours. They must be sick of it, eh? Like in July, because that's what you have to record it. It takes time to put it out in whatever, late October, early November, whatever.
Like Elevation has a new Christmas album.
Great album, by the way.
It's
very traditional. I love it. I'm kind of a throwback for music. Very traditional.
Last year or 2 years ago, Tommy Prophet came out with an amazing Christmas album.
More modern, and I still loved it. It was fantastic.
So
a lot of great arrangements.
Tommy Prophet is more of a cinematic song music composer.
Writer, yeah.
He's a producer, and then he'll get somebody to sing his music and stuff like that. Yeah. So more cinematic. Another album that I've liked is Crowder. Had a Christmas album that came out.
I saw. Have you ever seen that guy like in a video or live in concert or whatever?
I've never seen him live. No.
He looks like someone got from Duck Dynasty. Like when you
he has the big beard.
When you listen to him, you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. He's got a great voice, and then you see him, and we saw him live in Bemidji, I think, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
you're like, oh my gosh.
He used to be in David Crowder Band, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And now it's just called Crowder. So now he's on his own. Doesn't have his band anymore.
Crowder.
It's like when Matthew Good Band became just Matthew Good because he
good.
lost his band. Somewhere along the road, they fell off the truck.
They fell off the wagon. Where'd they go?
But you know what else? It's a guilty pleasure.
Okay.
I like the Mariah Carey music. Christmas music. There's something, I know it's bubblegum, I know it's candy, but there's just something about it. If you put it on in December when it's snowing outside, it just sounds like it's magical.
So I love Mariah Carey in general.
Yeah?
I remember when the Music Box came out, I started really getting big into Mariah Carey.
Okay.
And I like all these things that people would say is cheesy.
What was that?
Whatever.
What was that rapper that sang on that song with her? That
but that wasn't that album. But yes.
Me and Mariah go
yeah.
back like babies with pacifiers.
That was on a later album, I think. But I love Mariah and I love Christmas music, so
you like it.
I like it. I like again. I'm counterintuitive on a lot of things, and this one too.
I'm okay
cheesy
with
music with great vocals, great harmonies. I'm gonna like it.
I'm okay with Christmas music being in the malls now that it's past November 11th.
Yeah. So that's typically what most people I know of is because of Remembrance Day. We call it Remembrance Day here in Canada, and it's Veterans Day,
I believe, in the
US, something like that. And the idea is it's disrespectful to play Christmas music because you want to give Remembrance Day or Veterans Day the respect it deserves.
So I got a question for our American viewers. If you're watching, listening, is it different in the States? Does Christmas music go on after Thanksgiving in the States?
Do you know they don't do poppies in the States? I was in the States.
Yeah, they don't do poppies.
They don't do poppies. My wife was wearing a poppy and they said, "What's that?"
They don't do Remembrance Day. They do Veterans Day. It's totally different. Yeah. It's a totally different holiday.
No poppies.
But if you live in the States, do you listen to Christmas music before Thanksgiving? Or is Thanksgiving like your day of Christmas music? Is Thanksgiving the day that you throw the Christmas music on and now it's Thanksgiving all the way to New Year's? Or do you only have it, like, does it start November 1st? When does it start in the States? That's what I'd like to know.
I'll listen to, like, it's in, like, nowadays you don't have CDs you played during my workday. It's in your playlist, right? So it's all once in a while, the Christmas CD will just play because it's on shuffle. Yeah. I don't stop it if it's, if it's October 13th, if it's May 4th, I don't stop it.
Yeah. There's some good ones. Oh, what's the other one? The symphony one, the symphonic one. Where's that one that is like a symphony? What's that band?
You're losing me.
Oh man.
Billy.
No.
Come on.
No Billy today, but I can find it because I have a Christmas music playlist on my phone. And Christmas music. I call it Christmas music. Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
I'm not really, I don't really follow a lot of things, so I wouldn't know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, but I've not listened to a lot of it.
The Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
I know what you're talking about, but
okay.
and I could, if you played me a song, I'd say, oh yeah, that's what it is, but I don't really, I'm not big into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question to our viewers is, when do you put on Christmas music?
Yeah. What do you think?
When do you think?
What do you think?
I like I said, I can start listening to it as soon as Remembrance Day is over, so November 12th.
So you follow that rule?
Yeah.
Because if you play it before, it's disrespectful.
Not about disrespect. I just think that there's a certain amount of time I can listen to Christmas music.
Yeah.
46 to 48 days is probably enough.
So I'll take the opposite viewpoint then and say there's no rules here. If you want to play Christmas music May 13th, go ahead.
And we know you do.
I don't like sit there and play Christmas music all day, but I don't stop the song if it comes on my playlist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no rules.
Awesome. Okay, Tim.
Gregory.
It is time.
The Frogs. The Florida Frogs.
I don't know what team it's called. I should look it up for next show. I'll look it up for next show.
I just think it's funny you bought a hat because you thought it was cool and probably $40 US.
No, it wasn't.
Was it on sale?
It was pre-COVID, so the recession hadn't happened yet. I think they were back then. They were like 35 US.
Oh, so different. Not then, 40 US, 35 US.
And then at Lids, I have a discount because I'm a member, so I got like 20% off.
It's like saving money.
It's basically like printing money.
Do you know that's girl math?
I know.
You ever heard the term girl math?
Don't start with girl math.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
I basically save money.
Subjects for another time.
Lorraine, by buying this hat, we can now afford that cruise, which hasn't been purchased yet.
Stop bringing it up.
We can book it right now.
Let's get on to the topic of the day. Roll Tim's music.
Okay, hooray. It's time for the topic of the day. Adam with his earmuffs and no pants.
Always have to cut stuff out of the show.
Earmuffs, no pants.
No pants with
like that's double funny.
Maybe he'll send us a picture.
You can create your own picture. You have enough pictures of Adam, and you know how to work with all those pictures, and you have to edit them. You don't need him to send you a picture.
I won't do it.
Do it. If people ask for it, you have to do it. Someone please ask for that. Earmuffs, no pants, Adam.
Okay, so our topic of the day today, Tim, is introvert, extrovert, and ambivert.
Yeah.
So you brought up this topic this week. So if anybody's bored of this is your fault.
So backstory, we had this whole conversation about
Yeah.
what you said you were.
Yeah, and you don't believe me.
And then I never said I didn't believe you,
Okay.
and what I thought I was. But not only are you, by the way, ambivert is a cross between kind of half and half, right?
Yeah.
Introvert, of course, we know what that is, extrovert, and then ambivert is kind of a
Is
combination.
both.
So not only what are you, but why do we become this? Is it environmental? Do we learn this over time? And can it be changed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the questions. So let's start with you. Explain to the viewer what you explained to me, which surprised me about your personality.
And, if we have anybody that knows me watching, they're probably going to get surprised by it too.
Right.
I am what I, by my definition, would technically call an extrovert.
Okay. An extrovert?
Sorry. Introvert.
Thank you.
I don't even know what it's called. The reason why I would go by an introvert, which the ambivert thing kind of like throws me here now, though. The reason why I would go as an introvert is because, by my definition, an introvert loses energy by socializing, and an extrovert gains energy by socializing.
Right.
So I don't look at it from a point of view of an introvert doesn't want to socialize,
right,
or an introvert doesn't want to go out.
Yeah.
I go it based on an introvert finds it very exhausting.
Right. So you go to a party with 100 people and you spend 3 hours there. You might have a good time, but at the end of the night, you come home and you're completely exhausted.
Just done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and by that definition, you term yourself an introvert.
An introvert.
Yeah.
So what do you call yourself?
Well, first of all, let's go back. So you told me that you were an introvert, but did you say trained yourself to become an extrovert or have extrovert tendencies? Whereas you go out of your way to talk to people, you engage in conversation, et cetera, and that's true, correct? It's what you told me is right?
So what I've done, when I was much younger, I was very, very much an introvert.
When you're
like
bowling,
just a young
when you're
bowler.
bowling and 7 or 8 years old.
That's right.
Dominating the bowling world.
And you can, it's not really an introvert per se, but you can say like shy, like not really outgoing. These are things that I remember myself as. Yeah. And I do remember like this light bulb that went off in my head that said to myself, and it happened probably around grade 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, I'm not going to get hurt by just going and doing something. Yeah. Like something's not. And you know what? Sometimes I felt scared, and, sometimes I did things that were stupid and people would make fun of them, that type of thing. But, you get stronger over time. You can attack things more. The rejection therapy, for instance, that I learned even just a few years ago has helped me even more so get out of my shell and go out and talk to people. If you go anywhere with my wife, with my wife,
and I can attest to this,
this just happened on Friday night, you will meet somebody new.
Right.
Anywhere. Yeah. We were walking to the John Christ comedy show. Me, my wife, and 2 other couples. So there's 6 of us already together walking in a group. And I look back, and Lorraine's talking to 2 other people that aren't in our group, and just talking about the show that we're going to. And these people didn't know who John Christ was. I think they bought the tickets as a whim to go and see a comedy show and that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, she's just talking to them. Yeah. And getting to know who they are.
And not learn it more about her personality, because at the end of the night, she'd be an extrovert because she comes home and she's wound up and she's talking, whatever, and she's got more energy because she's interacted with a bunch of people that night.
Yeah.
Whereas you'll just be like,
now I'm tired.
Time to watch some highlights and
I'm exhausted.
Have a cold shower.
Some Brooklyn Nine-Nine right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I would term, and you didn't believe me, but I would term myself an ambivert.
Yeah.
depending on the how I'm feeling, I'm very outgoing sometimes. And there are some times where it's just like, how do I get out of this crowd? How do I get out of this building? And I'll plan in my head without seeing anyone, talking to anybody, and then just exiting so I can get to my vehicle and I can go home.
So for you, that's more of a preference, right? Like that's not a energy thing. That's more of a I'm bored or I'm
tired.
I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Right.
As opposed to this is exhausting to me, like to be here. Am I reading that correctly?
If I am socializing, I'm not necessarily exhausted or I'm not necessarily energized either.
Yeah.
And I think that would lend itself. So that's my experience. That's your experience. I think we've explained it well. But how about why we're this way? And can it be learned to be something else? I think my personal opinion is that you learned over time. There's so many things in your past that lend itself to that. Your parents, your environment, those things, kind of things.
Yeah.
And for me, I recognize that sometimes when I'm in that place where I don't want to talk to people and I want to get out of the building as fast as possible, that's not necessarily something that's a good thing. So I am in the last, again, I've said this before, but in the last year, I'm trying to go out of my way to change that. So I do think it can be changed.
Live outside your comfort zone.
Right. And so I think this weekend when we went to church in Minneapolis, my wife was saying like I was talking to everybody.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's true. And it's a little easier when
do you think
it's a little easier when you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Right. And we had been there 3 weeks in a row. People recognize us now. Like, it's our second home. But
do you think this is me rubbing off on you though? So we've gone on some trips together.
A little bit.
We've gone on a lot of trips together.
I'll give you some credit.
And I'm not looking for credit, but I'm just saying like you become the people you hang out with.
That's very true. What you said is extremely true. Yeah.
So for me, hanging out with Lorraine, I meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's rubbing off on me.
Yeah.
Right. So now me and you go to, our trips to like New York or wherever we go. We will generally meet new people. We met, what's his name's uncle on the train, just because on the platform I started talking to
one
him.
of the Blue Jays pitchers.
Yeah. One of the Blue Jays pitchers, Yimi Garcia's uncle.
Yeah.
On the platform of the train because I just started talking to him.
Yeah.
And then we talked to him the whole train ride to the stadium. I obviously have learned this from Lorraine.
Yeah.
My dad is very extroverted, I believe, as well. But when we go out, we meet new people.
Yeah.
Do you feel that some of this is being learned?
I do. And I recognize too there's nothing wrong with going home and sticking your head in a book. I mean that can be good too, right?
Yeah.
So going back to the whole conversation we had a few weeks about the FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
The question is why? Like why do I not interact with people at those times, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with going home and reading a book because you enjoy that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't talk to that person because there's some fear in I don't want to. There's someone I don't know, right? Interacting with something and someone you don't know. And then I say, well, that's not that in it. The reason why I'm not doing that's not good, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm low on energy. It's like, well, I don't feel like it. Well, is not feeling like it enough of a reason not to go out of your comfort zone at that time? Because like literally if I'm not interacting because I'm in a bad mood, I'm tired, whatever it is, I can flip that switch and make that decision.
Yeah.
And again, talk to the person on that train. Like what if you didn't talk to the person on the train? Like you wouldn't, see
you wouldn't have that
Jimmy
story.
Garcia's uncle or godfather, whoever it was. You wouldn't have that story, and you wouldn't have that conversation. You don't meet people, right? Yeah. So I think that I always question my motives in those examples.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm a little bit more of a mix, and I recognize that, and knowing when to jump in and talk to someone, right? And when not to, right? So I really tried to make a purposeful attempt to be more proactive in, not just going to talk to somebody, being social, being nice to someone, smiling.
Yep.
Right? Instead of, being a little bit more aloof, which I can tend to be when I'm in those moods.
Yeah. It's true.
It's true, right?
Yeah.
So.
And it's fine. Like everybody has their own personalities and their own ways. And I just believe that you become the company you keep for some instances. And I think that you know, as long as they're not like negative changes,
Yeah.
you know, just let it go. You know what I mean? Like, take on a new personality.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
funny that the whole personality, how many years that you've learned these things, you don't question them.
yeah.
And some people you hear, well, this is who I am, and that's who I am, and like it or lump it. But in reality, you know, there's so many things that you can do better.
Yeah.
Over time.
Some people are like that, where they say, "This is my personality, like it or lump it." They don't really notice their changes,
Right?
Or they don't hang out with different people on a regular basis, right? And the other thing too is, if you're not open to learning, to changing, and you said it, you're like, you can make a conscious decision to change your mindset.
Yeah.
And I personally need to work on that.
Yeah.
My conscious decision to change my mindset. If I'm in a bad mood or in a negative mindset, I need to work on just change it.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Nobody gives about you being in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Nobody cares if you're having a bad day. If you just exude that, people aren't going to want to hang out with you.
Right.
So you've got to change it if you want to hang out with people. Now, if you don't want to hang out with people, if you want to be a true introvert, and not use any of your energy.
Yeah.
If you want to use no energy, stay at home, sit at home, watch TV, play video games, and honestly not socialize whatsoever.
Yeah.
All to them. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah. This is a great conversation.
To each their own.
It's a great conversation. So if people want to chime in, what do you think you are? You're an extrovert, ambivert, introvert, how you learn to be that way? Do you think you can change? Or is it a case of this is who I am and like it or lump it? And dang it, I know enough.
So vert means green in French.
It's not easy being green.
we didn't leave in your Kermit the Frog.
It's not easy being green. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. I can get it in the show.
You actually have a good Kermit the Frog, in my mind. But I'd like to know what the listeners think this time. So, do you think Tim has a good Kermit the Frog?
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Do you have any other words you can say other than hi-ho, Kermit the Frog
I said
here?
multiple words and phrases in the entire last 30 seconds. I'm done proving myself to the world. Like it or lump it, this is me.
Oh.
So, what's in this tea? What did you put in my tea? Oh, I can't wait for the soup and salad. I think I'm gonna get some salad.
Okay, well, that's the show for this week, Tim. I think it was a good one. We talked about Taylor Swift, Jason Kelce,
Travis
Kelce.
Yeah. Donna Kelce. I think you mentioned Donna.
I don't think we did.
No, you did. You did.
The Bombers, the
Donna.
Jets. I mentioned her by mom.
Yeah.
Christmas music, introvert, extroverts, and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. So whatever was your favorite part, leave it in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, get your earballs filled with the Greg and Tim show.
We said 22 subscribers in the last week. Let's beat that this week.
If we can get to 100 subscribers.
22 new subscribers.
So if we can get to 100 subscribers by the end of the week, which is 27 new subscribers.
Greg is going to send you
Tim
his
will...
frog's hat in the mail.
That will not happen. Tim will do the next episode topless.
Really?
No, that will turn off viewers. 27 new viewers. What should we do with 27?
I could.
No. Leave it on.
Do you like my Vikings t-shirt?
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a beauty.
$5 Kohl's special.
27 new viewers, and we will. I don't know.
I'll go topless.
Nothing. I don't want you to.
Well, you mentioned it.
Yeah.
I would do it.
I don't want you to. 27 new viewers, so 100 subscribers, and Tim will wear a shirt next week.
That'll be if we get to 100. Tim, that'll be the opposite.
Yeah.
If we get to 100 subscribers, that's 27 more subscribers. Tim will wear a shirt. Otherwise, he's not wearing a shirt.
Otherwise, he's not wearing a shirt.
This is a threat to all of you out there.
I think it's more of a threat to my eyeballs. So fill your earballs and please don't fill my eyeballs with him being topless.
Because I'll do it. I need to get some film on next year's Sexiest Man.
That'll be a lot of editing to put a different body there.
You've done it before.
Oh, well, cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Have a great week.
Have a great week.
See you again next week.
We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
My nose was itchy the entire episode. Do you want it to be... There you go. I think... No, a little bit higher, I think. Wow, jeez. You're so aggressive.
Shut up! Get off my lawn!
I know enough.
I'm going to be happy.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. See you again next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.